had a good week. It's good to see you. Glad you're here. Waiting for the mic. And we'll see. Terry will do a little bit of a sound check. I know we have some new people this week. We're glad you're joining us. I don't remember what your names are, but introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from and what instrument you're playing, because I know not all of you play hammered dulcimer, but that's okay. The best jams are those jams that include a multitude of instruments. So anyway, and if you see somebody you know that's joining the jam, coming on, say hi to them, greet them, and see how they've been this week. Here in Michigan, we've had quite the wind the last couple days, and last night it rained, which we really needed in our area. So I don't know how the weather was your area, but we got the tail end of Cristobal, I think, and so we had a couple power outages around here today, not very long, so I'm hoping that there won't be any issues. We haven't had anything this afternoon, but if there are, don't necessarily think it's at your end. It might be at ours. So we're going to continue to record this, and then we'll post it. It'll be on the Spirit Jam tomorrow. We'll also copy it to the Silver Strings Facebook page, and it will sometime tomorrow be also copied onto the Silver Strings YouTube page. So anyway, we're glad you're here. The theme tonight is Marvelous Marsha's musical meanderings. And I thought, well, what the heck does that mean? But to me, it means that you get to hear my story of how I ended up here at the Spirit Jam. It all started a long time ago. And so this is a jam, and we start every jam, because it's a Silver Strings Jam, with Westphalia Waltz. We're going to play it 3 times in the key of G, and let's have at it. musical journey. And I grew up and nobody played any music in my house, but my dad had great hopes that one of us would be a musician. So he made sure we had lessons. And so I was involved in music and in choir, and so I had some musical background. But sometime in the early 90s, I saw a Hammered Dulcimer, a street performer someplace. I don't even remember where it was. But I was so fascinated by the instrument, and the question that I had in my mind is, I wonder if I could play that. It looked very intimidating. And, you know, a lot of strings and hammers, and the strings just seemed to be everywhere, and I thought, wow, but I loved the sound. So it was just a passing thought. And then a couple of years later, there was a community education program at Madonna College, and the catalog came out, and one of the classes was learn how to play hammered dulcimer. You don't need an instrument. The instructor will loan you one. And I thought, well, that would be great. It wouldn't cost me any money. I wouldn't invest in an instrument that I won't play, and I'll just check it out and see if I can play it. Well, the person that gave that class, his name is Charlene Berry, and a lot of you may have known her that have been in Hammered Dulcimer in Michigan for a long time. She was quite a personality. She even had her own store in Plymouth. So I took the class and I learned that I could play this instrument. However, she never went to the next step to tell me how to get one. So I thought, okay, it's on my wish list for Christmas, but Santa Claus didn't bring me one. And what I did get the following Christmas after this class was a pair of hammers. Not this pair, but a pair that my niece gave me as part of the family drawing. So I thought, oh, that's great. I've got hammers. Now someday maybe I'll get an instrument. And so maybe another year passed, and my husband Terry went up turkey hunting up in the middle of the state, and he came home with a dulcimer and a turkey. And the dulcimer was, I think, a handmade dulcimer. It was an 1112, and I just loved it. I just loved it. Didn't matter that I needed to tune it every time I played. I didn't know that it was tuned at what's called Michigan tuning, and that's another part of the story. But Terry, on the other hand, will like to share his story of the beginning of his musical journey.
Well, I got a late start with my musical journey. I started when I turned 60. And I saw Marsha was having a lot of fun with her dulcimer and going to the club, and I was just kind of sitting in the background. And I thought, well, I always wanted to play an instrument, but I just never had the time with work and raising a family, you know, etc., etc. So I decided I'd try the banjo. I always liked the sound of a banjo. So I used banjo, and I took a couple of lessons, and I didn't know a lick of music, didn't know an A note from a D note, or whatever those notes are, but I did learn the chords. And so for the last 12 years I've been playing pretty much chords, and along the way I decided that the banjo was just a little too heavy for me. At 14 pounds, my shoulder was beginning to kill me. So one night at Silver Strings, Marie Naster had this banjola. She said, "Terry, why don't you see if you could play this instrument?" So I said, "Well, can I borrow it for a couple weeks?" And she said, "Sure." So I fell in love with the sound of the banjola. It sounds really great with the dulcimer. And so I returned, first of all, I asked her if I could buy it from her. She said no, it was a wedding gift from her husband, so that idea was not feasible. So I went online, I used one, I found this one on eBay, and I'd say I've had it probably now about 7 or 8 years. And when Marie passed on, she had this tenor guitar. So I talked to Wade and Maureen, and I negotiated the sale, and I bought this. I reworked some of the parts on it, and between these two instruments I've been playing right along, and I've kind of favored the guitar the last couple of years. It's a little bit lighter than the banjola, and it sounds great with the dulcimer. And because of my hand, I've got trigger fingers, so I have to stay with a narrow neck instrument. I've been contemplating a ukulele, but I figure 2 instruments is enough for right now. So, anyway, that's my journey. Plus, I want to add, P.S., I had a good coach along the way. Marsha insisted that I use the P word, practice. Of course, we practice all the time.
So where did your journey start? Share a story with each other about it. Who was your first teacher or mentor? How did you choose your instrument? All those kinds of things. That's really quite interesting. And if you looked on the Spirit Jam page, you got to see Alice Gajewski's story of her first Hammered Dulcimer. And it's a great little story. So let's share some stories in between the playing of tunes. Our next tune is a tune that actually I learned from Charlene Berry. There's 2 tunes I learned from her that I remember learning from her, and one was Peekaboo Waltz, and the other was Black Nag. And Peekaboo Waltz, when I became a member of Silver Strings, happened to be in their tune library. So we're going to play Peekaboo Waltz next, and it's in the key of D, and we'll play it 2 times. About a year after I got my first dulcimer, we bought some property up in a little town called Marion, Michigan. And it just happens to be about 20 miles away from the Michigan Festival, the big dulcimer festival called Everett, which I really had not ever heard of, but I thought, wow, I was on my path towards learning the dulcimer. So we went to see the festival. I think it cost $1 a day or something. We were just day visitors, and we wandered around during the day, and I found the workshops, and I thought, oh my gosh. And I, sat in on several of them because we went. I didn't even have my dulcimer with me. First of all, I didn't have a case, so you can't very well walk around with a box holding a dulcimer. And so I said, all right, Terry, I have got to get myself ready because I'm coming back next year and I need to take some classes and I need to learn how to really play this thing. So we ordered a case, I think from Peg. I can't remember her last name, but if you've been to Everett, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, she made me a case, and I was all ready. I was ready to learn. And so the next year I went, and I learned a lot of tunes from different people. And some of the teachers at that time that were helpful to me on my journey were people like Jane Chevalier and Mary Lou Batley, and I took classes, I think, from Judi Morningstar and a bunch of others. But each one taught me something more about the instrument. Now what I learned the very first year I was there was that my instrument was Michigan tuned, octave tuned, and not fifth tuned. So that meant I had to, the hammering patterns didn't always work. I had to adjust it for my dulcimer, which I did. And then I took one class from, I think the first or second year, from a gal in Pennsylvania, Donna Missigman. And the class taught a tune, but it had notes that I didn't have. And I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to use this dulcimer forever because I need more notes. And any of you that started out on an 11-12 know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, one of the tunes that I picked up at Everett was the Lovers Waltz. And so I love this tune. I just love this tune. And I was fortunate enough, Terry and I were fortunate enough to see Jay Ungar and Molly Mason perform at the art last year, and they performed this one. And I contacted him recently to make sure that it was okay to play this tune at this virtual jam, and he said absolutely. And he was excited that we were doing this. So with his permission, we're going to play Lovers Waltz, and we're going to play it 3 times. It's in the key of D. just love that song. I just love it. Anyway, another tune that was that I heard and was introduced to at Everett was Blueberry Splash, and it made a big splash there. People just loved playing it, and it was really a tune you heard quite often at jams. And it's a great tune, and the story about it goes that Judi Morningstar spent the morning picking blueberries up in Michigan. You know, a lot of blueberries in Michigan. And so they went picking right after a rainstorm, and the bushes were pretty wet. So they came home wet, sort of like you would have if you'd picked them last night. So anyway, Michigan blueberries are wonderful. My brother and sister-in-law come to Michigan every August to pick Michigan blueberries because there's just nothing quite like them. Terry's grandmother grew up near the Hart area of Michigan, and she always wanted to grow blueberries, but they didn't grow. They grew best in the soil up there and not in the soil down in Erie, Michigan. So let's do Blueberry Splash. It's in the key of G. We'll do it 3 times. I do want to mention that Judi has written books of music, and her tunes are just great. If you are not familiar with her music, she's got some new ones out. One is Going Stir Crazy in Lockdown, I think, and before that she did Jamming at St. James. So she has tunes that are available if you are interested. She has a website, and you can buy and purchase her music. And have a chance to just have a whole Judi Morningstar jam. It'll be a lot of fun. So anyway, Terry and I went to that Dulcimer Festival every year for 7 years, and we were day visitors. So we never jammed. I never jammed. I didn't even know what jamming was. I mean, I saw people playing, but it looked like it was a closed group, and it was closed. There was no way in, and I didn't know the first thing about it. So we would listen, but I never played. And finally, one year, Terry said, Marsha, you need to jam. And I said, I can't do that. He says, yeah, you can do that. You're good enough. I mean, this man is part of my journey. He's pushed me forward every step of the way. And I said, no, I really can't do that because I don't play fast enough. I don't know all the tunes. you know, one of these things you think you got to know it all before you do it. And he goes, no, you just do it. And so he refused to take me home. He says, we're not going home till you jam. I thought, oh my God. So we wandered around for probably an hour, it seemed like. And finally I wound up in the swine barn. And the first jam I ever went to was Gail Swan's jam. Can you believe it? So, anyway, one of the favorites of our club jam and for new players is always waltzes because they're slow enough tempo that you can play along. So let's play South Wind, and we're going to play it in G. And the second time, I hope you fiddles just do wonderful things with that, or if you have whistles or harmonicas or whatever you do that, you know, listen in your head to those people play and play softer the second time so you can hear them. Started staying for some of the concerts, and it must have been a Thursday night because there was this group playing before the regular concert started, and we got there early so we'd get a good seat, you know, right in front of the stage. And that group happened to be called Silver Strings Dulcimer Society, and so they played, you know, a few tunes, and they said where they were from, which was in Garden City, which isn't very far from where we live. And Terry again said, Marsha, I think we ought to check that thing out. Nah, I don't want to do that because, you know, look how fast they play. Look at, I don't think so, Terry goes, yeah, I think we need to check it out. And I thought, I don't think so. And so anyway, that just was a whim and an idea. And a few months later, we happened to be at Greenfield Village, and Silver Strings happened to be playing there that day. And so we listened to them there. They were playing at the gazebo. And Terry says, go ask them for some information. I thought, because they were taking a break. So I picked the most friendly, approachable person there is, and her name is Teresa Smith. And she was just very lovely and friendly and encouraging, and she went and got me a brochure, and she said, well, just come and try it out. You know, you don't have to, just, you know, we're a friendly group. And I thought, you know, okay. So it took me probably another couple months before I had the courage to go to a meeting, but I did, and that's when my association with Silver Strings began. So anyway, but I never stopped learning. As you know, if you're a musician, you never stop learning something new. And so one of my favorite teachers at Everett is Dee Dee Tibbits, and she used to have workshops in her town of bad acts. And I went to a workshop, and it was there that I learned this next tune, which is Mr. Gubbin's Bicycle. And the person that shared that tune with me was Sid Holmes, and he was another lovely person, a gentleman, and he was so generous with music. He used to bring copies just in case somebody asked for a copy of music. That's when we all, you know, had paper. So this one is Mr. Gubbin's Bicycle, and there's a funny story about it, because the person that wrote this, John Kirkpatrick, lives in Shropshire, England, and I wrote to him for permission to make copies and share it and perform it. And he also wrote Jump at the Sun, which was a very popular tune, I don't know, a decade or so back. So he said, well, if you like my tune so much, I'll give you permission, but you got to buy my book. So I did, and he's got a lot of great tunes in it with really funny names. But a lot of them are not dulcimer friendly. I think he was writing for fiddles or accordions or something. And originally, Mr. Gubbin's Bicycle was written in the key of A. So it's been transposed into the key of G. We're going to play it 3 times. Back to one of my favorite people in the dulcimer world is Dee Dee Tibbits, and she's always been very gracious about sharing her tunes. She's a great teacher, and the thing that she taught me that just I really loved was how to layer tunes when you're playing with a group, so you're not all playing melody. I don't know if any of you took the classes at the Quarantine Festival, but it was a great experiment, and it was some great things. But one of the things that classes that I took, the instructor said the thing about everybody thinks they need to play melody, and so Dee Dee Tibbits makes it easy for anybody at any level to play together, and that's what I find so wonderful. And I was at this workshop, which is where I met Linda Shoesmith, by the way, and got to know her better. But anyway, Jig for a Sunny Day, you can layer, and our club, we perform this at Everett doing that. So if you have those layering parts, go ahead and use them and have fun with them. And if you don't, just play it straight. It's a nice little tune, and she wrote it one day, like today in Michigan, a beautiful sunny day. The wind is just blowing in your hair, and she's walking down the road in looking at over the fields, and she felt this jig come to her. So it's a jig for a sunny day. 3 times in the key of G. Okay, so once we became members of Silver Strings, we mostly just went to the meetings, and we didn't participate in much of any of the extra things, the social things too much, because we had a place up north, and I had a commitment that I was involved with, so we got there maybe once a month. And but anyway, it came about that we went to our first camp out, and I think we just went for the day. But it's at the camp out, people are jamming all day long. That's kind of what they do. And what I found is you learn tunes at jams, and you get to share tunes. And one of the tunes that came to me through one of the camp outs is this next one called Willefjord. And it's sounds almost Caribbean, but it's a Shetland traditional tune, and it's another one of my favorites. And I had it. Somebody gave it to me early on, but I didn't know how. I didn't have the command of my instrument to know how it was supposed to be played. But all of a sudden, you hear it at jam, and you think, oh, that's what it's supposed to sound like. So let's play Willefjord. It's in the key of D. We'll do it. How many times? 3. 3 times. Michigan is the Midland Festival that takes place in August, and that has smaller classes and there's fewer people and it's more of an intimate setting. And once again, we didn't have campers in that, and we thought, well, we'll just try it for one day and see what it's like. And and it was very nice. And another one of my favorite teachers at these was Penny Schreiber. She always had such great tunes that were a little bit different and just enough of a challenge, and I always enjoyed that. So I learned quite a few from her as well. But recently, a lady who lives here in Michigan, her name is Jenni Burke, and she's a great songwriter too. And unfortunately, she hasn't put her tunes into a book yet. I hope she does, because she has some wonderful tunes. I only know a few of them, but boy, I'd sure be lined up to get her book. So all of you who are friends with Jenni, help her get that done. The tune we're going to play next is one that Dottie Decker, who comes to our Spirit Jam. Hi, Dottie. She taught at one of the Midland Festival workshops. It's called Black Cat Schottische, and it's in the A minor, and let's do it 3 times. And Jenni, if you hear about it, just know we played it again. Our club really likes to play this in the fall, around Halloween. It's got that kind of vibe to it. All right, Black Cat Schottische 3 times. was talking with Jenni, she prefers this to actually be played with no repeats. So, because she says it's repetitious enough as it is. So I don't know, but your preference. You get to choose when you're playing it. So the thing that's nice about the Midland Festival is the small jams at night. And that's the thing that I found out once we started actually camping, is how late you guys jam at these festivals. So my question to you is, what's the latest you've ever jammed, either at Everett or Midland or whatever festival you've been to? I know there's probably some records that people are probably still playing when the sun comes up. But anyway, I'd like to know about that, and and what tunes that you associate with those jams. The next tune we're going to do, Black Mountain Rag, was a tune that I got at Midland at a late night jam. It was Julie and Scott Mester, and I think it was just us that was jamming. Maybe there was somebody else, I don't know. But this young man and his girlfriend came up and he said, "Can we sit down and jam with you?" And we said, "Sure." And he hauled out, I don't know, 2 or 3 mandolins and all of that. His name was Cody. And he asked us if we knew Black Mountain Rag. And I said, "Nope," and Julie said, "Nope, but let's try it." So we did. So anyway, Black Mountain Rag, I eventually introduced it to Silver Strings, and it's a great jam favorite. So we're going to play it 4 times because it just kind of goes along. And I don't know what Cody's doing now. I haven't seen him in a few years, but he was a great little mandolin player. So one of the things at Silver Strings is that we have, there's always been, or most of the time, there's been a slow jam for newer players. There's our regular jam, which lasts about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes. And then we have after hours jam. And at the after hours jam is where we play not only our club tunes, but people bring in a tune now and then to share. And it's not necessarily difficult, it's just not in our tune library. So one of the tunes that I got at Everett, and it's actually from Rick Thumb, it was at his jams, And by the way, I talked to Rick Thumb this week, and he says to remind you that he is doing his A to Z workshop in Everett from July 13th to it's going to be 4 days for the same price as 3 days. And so if you want to go to that, there's camping available in the area, and he does a great workshop, and you usually get a lot from him. But anyway, this reel, Hangman's Reel, was something that he arranged, and they play quite often at his jams, at his picnics that they would have on Sunday prior to the kickoff of his classes. And so anyway, I liked it. I thought, well, this is a neat song. So I took it to the After Hours Jam, and it's become a favorite, and it has since become part of our regular tune library. So we're going to play Hangman's Reel. It's in the key of A, and we'll play it 3 times. And Rick Thumb's really a friend to the players in Michigan. He's kind of been a cornerstone of jamming, and a lot of people enjoy his after the concert jams that he usually has. So that's fun. I associate it with the jams. In fact, I saw him in Kentucky Music Week. We were fortunate to go 1 year, and he and Ken Kolodner and Steve Seifert were leading a jam with probably 75 people packed into this hotel room. Can you imagine what a jam that would have been? It was something else. My hammers were smoking.
How many times?
3 times.
Key of A.
I said that already.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know, Harold, if you're watching tonight, but I hope you enjoyed that. That's one of Harold's favorites. Okay, so Harold actually brought this next tune, and you might notice that I'm dropping a lot of names, but you know, I have found musical journey is not something that you travel by yourself. And you have people that have been with you a lot of times during the way in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes you're not together. Maybe it's just a workshop, or maybe it's just one jam somewhere that you met them and you never see them again. But there was something that you helped with each other with that was part of that journey. So if there is somebody that's been instrumental in your journey of late, then please share a story with them and what it was that they helped you with. Because I think it's good to acknowledge that and be grateful. All right, so the next tune is Inisheer, and this was one that was suggested as a tune. It's been part of our After Hours Jam for a while, and it's really almost an air. It's an air, and the person that wrote it, Thomas Walsh, this is the neat thing about my journey. I have run into people, musicians, like all over the world, and become friends with them, and I have become kind of friends with him, and he has really been excited that his tune has traveled. Well, now it's traveled all the way out to California, because we have people in our Spirit Jam that are from all over. And he took this trip to the island of Inisheer, ended up spending a couple weeks there, and just fell in love with the peace and the tranquility that it gave him. And so in this troubled time, I think that's what this tune does for me. And I hope it does for you too. So we're going to play it 3 times. It's in the key of G. And just feel the peace. Did it lower your blood pressure? It's a beautiful, peaceful tune. The next tune was another one that was introduced at the After Hours Jam, and I think it's been played at some of the other jams too that meet in the area. And this one is a tune by Rodney Miller, who's a fiddle player, and I guess quite a well-known fiddle player. He's originally from the East, I think around the Connecticut area, but he now lives in California, and it's called Bluemont Waltz. It's in the key of A, and we will play it 3 times. He and I have had great conversation as well. He gave us permission to play this, and he is just delighted that this tune was written quite a while ago, 1986, and the fact that people are still playing it and it didn't get lost in obscurity makes him very happy. So we'll play it as thankful for him for letting us do this at a spirit jam. In fact, his email said, whoop whoop, he was happy. So let's play it and be happy. the business manager at that time, if I would do the music coordination for her. She would take on the job as the business manager setting up gigs, but she didn't want to do the music coordination. And she and I worked pretty well together, so I said okay, and then I kind of listened to what people wanted, and one of the things they wanted was tunes that were more familiar, but the problem with the more recent tunes is the copyright laws. So I chose a few tunes that were actually folk tunes long before they were popular hits, and the next one we're going to do is one of those. So the folk tune, it's a Haitian folk song, is called Chacun, which means yellow bird, and you will recognize it as a Harry Belafonte hit, but it originally was a Haitian folk song. So let's do that 3 times. Whoops, key of G. Not that many years ago, but time flies. One year at Everett, where I get so many of my ideas, Steve Uhlberg did a couple of workshops on dulcimer orchestra, and he had created arrangements with parts. And at one time I played an orchestra, and I never thought of Hammered Dulcimer as an orchestra, but I thought, well, that would be really cool. And his music is actually transcribed for mountain dulcimer orchestras, but it could be used for either way. So I took that and I got all excited, and I rounded up people. I'm enthusiastic about this, and we created an orchestra, but we deviated from his plan. We had a fiddle section, we had a mountain dulcimer section, and then the rest of the spots were filled in with hammered dulcimers. And I got, I don't know, between 9 and 12 people to work on this. And so our goal was to learn these tunes and play them at the open mic at Everett. And of course we picked the finale to Beethoven's Fifth and Vivaldi's Spring. Nothing like starting hard. But we did it, and we worked on it, and we met and we practiced, and we actually did that. And that day I said, I don't care what happens in the middle of the piece, as long as we end together. And we did. And then we did it the second year, and then I came across arrangements of this next tune we're going to play, Hewlett, that was arranged for parts by Eyeless Mears. And so again, we worked on it all year, that and some other tunes, a minuet, and I think we had 3 tunes. And again, with the idea of playing it at the open mic. Well, Eyeless Mears that particular year was camped right across the road from us at Everett, and I invited her to come and see what we did with her arrangement. And you know, I purchased it from her. I had the music legally and everything. So anyway, we did that, and it was great fun, and it wasn't hard to do, and it really helps in listening to each other and letting each other take the lead. So if you were part of that, I hope you saved your music and you tried playing it. And we're going to play it, I think we'll play it, notice that the B part has no repeat, and we'll play it three times. So, and this tune, by the way, is by Turlogh O'Carolan, and if you're not familiar with him, he was a blind harpist, and he made his living playing and writing tunes for people. You know, he went all around Ireland, and he didn't get married until he was 50 years old, and then he had 7 kids, so he had quite a life. But if you are a musician and you're depending on people's patronage, especially right now, it's a hard living to make. So I hope that all of you are supporting our musicians, whichever ones are your favorite. Okay, Hewlett. It's in the key of D 3 times. Part of Silver Strings, we have met a lot of wonderful, nice people. It's kind of like a family, and there have been a lot of subgroups that have become little bands or combinations of instruments that have played here and there, and I don't even know all of them. But Terry and I have been fortunate to be part of 2 groups, and the first group we were part of was a group called Strings and Things, and there were about 9 of us. And we played at the Chelsea Festival for a couple summers, and it was It was a lot of fun to play gigs with them. And most recently, we played with a group that's been around for a while called Village Strings. And it's a group that plays in vintage costumes most of the time, unless we're doing farmers markets, and then we're not. But that was where the tune that you heard when we started, that tune was from the CD they made. So we had the experience of creating a CD, and I have great respect for any of you who have done that. It's quite a lot of work and production, and I can't even believe it happened. I mean, we just had to show up and play, but all the rest of the work that went into it, there's a lot to it. So we're going to play Fanny Power, which is another O'Carrollin tune. And it is in the key of G. It's in 6/8. And he, I don't know who Fanny Power was to him. It wasn't his wife, I can tell you that, but it must have been somebody who was one of his patrons. So let's play that. And oh, by the way, the CD is called Timeless Traditions, if you're interested. So anyway, Fanny Power. And we're going to do it. Let's do it. Oh gosh, we've been playing for an hour and a half. We're going to do only twice. Is another Judi Morningstar tune. This was requested a few weeks ago by Kim Houston, and it's a nice little tune. So let's play it. It's in the key of G, and we'll do it 3 times. we have a lot of waltzes tonight, and it certainly isn't a tune list that you would probably perform, because people like to hear the fast reels and all of that. But it's kind of nice once in a while to have a tunes that just kind of flow along like a waltz. So and I get to pick tonight. So I'm sorry if I hope you liked it. The last tune we're going to do is our current tune of the month. Our club usually has 5 or 6 new tunes a year that it works on, and this was chosen actually before COVID was a thing. And it's about it's called The Distressed Soldier. So it's not real fast, and it's in the key of D. And the part B, I don't know what copy you got, but some of the copies had a mistake on it. There's no repeat of the part B. This was taught at our camp out last year by Ernie Stewart and his group of friends from the Waterford area. And there's a great version of it on YouTube that Dee Dee Tibbits did, where it uses whistles and mandolin, I think. But anyway, check it out. It's a lovely tune called The Distressed Soldier, key of D, and we're doing it 3 times. Tonight. I'm sorry we've gone on so long, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless, and you didn't turn into a pumpkin because we didn't end in 1 hour. Next week's theme is a tribute to all of the richness of the music clubs and groups in Michigan, and I thank everybody who sent me pictures and some tune suggestions of favorites from your club. So we'll be doing that next week, and I'll try to have the list out as soon as I can. And I thank you all for being part of this. I'm glad the new people that are here tonight found it. And I hope that you'll go back and play some of the previous weeks. So it's amazing. It's just, don't you think it's been amazing? I think this has been amazing, and I think that Grace has been a part of it. So with that being said, let's finish with Amazing Grace. It's in the key of G. We will play it 3 times, and then on the 4th time, let's play it and sing it. And I do wish you all to have moments of grace every day until we meet again. And I hope that you find your journey as amazing as I have found mine, and found it to be a blessing. frustrated that you don't follow what's right for you to do. And keep playing and stay on the journey. We'll see you next week. Bye.